I remember just how excited I was only a few months ago about getting my first diode laser. Now that was until I started looking at all the options and manufacturers and trying to understand what everything meant. Now chances are you might be feeling the exact same way. Don't despair, I've put together this video to help you understand what the options are and what questions you need to be asking yourself before you spend your hard-earned cash. In the second half of the video, I'll run through 10 different manufacturers and their offerings so you know what options are out there that might just be your first diode laser engraver. G'day and welcome to Mr. Craftsmith. I'm Darren and I'm excited to share all this information to ease your mind about making your first diode laser purchase. Let's jump straight into it. Hindsight is a wonderful thing, right? Like how many times have we said to ourselves, if only I knew that before I bought this damn thing. Now, I've been there many times before, and hopefully by watching this video, you'll be better positioned to make a more educated decision before you buy. How much am I prepared to spend on a diode laser? The cost of a desktop diode laser can vary greatly depending on the manufacturer, the specific model, and its capabilities. Now, as a general rule of thumb, you can expect to spend anywhere from a few $100s to several $1,000s on a desktop diode laser, depending on the features that you need. If you're just starting out with the laser cutting or engraving, a lower cost model might be a good starting point. Now these models typically have a smaller work area and lower power output, but they can still produce great results for hobbyist projects. You can find some great options in the $200 to $500 price range, and we'll cover those models later in the video. However, if you're looking for a desktop diode laser with more power and speed for more serious hobby or even entry-level commercial use, you may want to consider investing in a higher end model. Now these typically have larger work areas, they have higher output and more advanced features. Now prices for these models can range upwards from $700. Ultimately, the amount you should spend on a desktop diode laser depends on your specific needs and budget. Now consider what you'll be using the laser for, how often you'll use it, and what features are most important to you. What materials am I planning on using? Now when you think of desktop diode lasers, most people will instantly be thinking of engraving or cutting wood. Now obviously we're not restricted to wood. We might want to engrave slate coasters or ceramic tiles or acrylic, leather, glass, cardboard, paper, fabric, even some metals. But the thing you have to be aware of, and I wasn't when I was doing my own research, is that diode lasers don't generally do well with clear materials like glass and clear acrylic due to the specific wavelength used within the diode lasers. Now there are techniques that can be used to achieve reasonable outcomes, but if glass and clear acrylic was your primary material you were going to be using, you may want to consider going for like a CO2 laser, as that has no issues with glass and clear acrylic due to the wavelength that are used in those lasers. How big are my projects going to be? Now as an example, you may be thinking you're just going to be doing some drink coasters and smaller items like cooking utensils or pet tags, keychains, or maybe even jewelry. Now that begs the question, do I really need a big work area? And you may find that you can get away with a smaller footprint, which is perfectly fine, as generally speaking, the smaller footprint diode lasers are less expensive, which frees up more of your budget to get those raw materials you need to get started. Where am I going to put my laser? Not all of us have the luxury of a spare garage or workshop where we can set up our lasers. So you need to think about where you might put it and what impact that might have using it in that environment in terms of smoke or fumes and noise. Not that lasers are particularly noisy, but nonetheless, still something to think about. Now, if you have neighbors really close, is it going to affect them? How are you going to deal with that? What accessories do I need to run my laser? Use case and location will determine most of the answers to these questions. Now, if you're using a diode laser indoors, there's a good chance that you're going to need to vent the smoke or fumes outside. And how do you plan on doing that? You're probably going to need some sort of enclosure, an inline fan, and some ducting. Now, if you're cutting material, you'll find that you're going to need a cutting bed of some sort and what they call air assist. Now, most of the diode lasers capable of cutting will have some sort of air assist nozzle. However, very few come with the cutting bed or the pump that provides the air to assist with that cutting. And what about doing curved objects like tumblers or glasses and drink bottles? You'll need a rotary attachment to do those, and chances are that you're going to need some sort of bed risers to achieve the clearance to accommodate the rotary attachment. All of these things will need to be considered when it comes to your budget. So don't fall into the same trap as I did myself and think, okay, I've got say $700 to spend and get a laser worth $700 and end up spending almost the same again to get all the accessories and raw materials I needed to get started. What software do I need to run my diode laser? So does the manufacturer supply software when you purchase the laser? Now some do, and in most cases they're pretty generic and basic, but you can do the main tasks for engraving and cutting, and it may be enough for you just to start off. Now, if you've got a PC, you can get access to a software program called Laser Gerbil, and it's completely free to use. However, possibly the most popular software for use with hobby lasers, in my opinion, based on my own research, would be Lightburn. It is a paid software, but the license is very affordable, and it's a software that I use exclusively. The license is about $60 US and it works on Mac, PC and Linux. And it's well worth it if you plan to be using your laser on a regular basis. I'll pop the links to all of those down in the description. And if you want to check them out, there's also a free trial as well for Lightburn, which is a big bonus. Now, I'm sure there are a bunch of other questions you could be asking yourself, but the ones we've covered here should put you in a much better position to make a decision on which diode laser might be the best fit for you. So I know you've been itching to get to this point, and it's time to take a look at what's available on the market now. So let's jump in. Before we do jump in, I just want to let you know that I've compiled all of the following information about the different laser models that you're about to see into a Google spreadsheet, and it's got links to all the manufacturers' websites, all those sorts of things. Now, it's taken me a bunch of my spare time to put this information together for you, so if you would like a copy of the spreadsheet, consider subscribing to my channel, and if you haven't already, turn on the notifications so you don't miss any of my future content. And just pop a comment down below that you'd like a copy and I'll be sure to shoot you out the link. Sound fair? Okay, let's get into the juicy stuff. Rightio, let's jump into this diode laser comparison. Is it the ultimate? I don't know. I'm laying claim to that at the moment. But I've picked 10 manufacturers here, including Ortur, xTool, Sculpfun, Atomstack, COMGROW, TWOTREES, CREALITY, FOXALIEN, and hopefully I'm pronouncing it correctly, the Niji manufacturers. Now, these are based on what I have been seeing in Facebook groups and things like that, and generally speaking, the most popular brands that I've seen on YouTube. So, and this is kind of what I'd probably based my original research on, but mainly around probably the Ortur and the xTools options, not so much these others, but they have become far more popular. So let's jump in and have a look at what we're going to be doing. So the first category that we're looking at is up to 5 watt lasers. Now, these, generally speaking, as I mentioned in the introduction, are probably best suited to engraving more so than they are to cutting, purely because of the power output. Now, that's not to say that a 5 watt laser won't cut through certain materials, in most cases would. They definitely will, or they will definitely cut through paper and things like that. But you've just got to weigh up whether or not that's the best use for that tool, if that's all you're really going to be doing. So generally speaking, these are going to be best suited for engraving. So what we're looking at here, Atomstack, they have a couple of different varieties. They've got the open frame style of laser, which is probably the most popular, plus this gantry style here, where it's just a single arm. So what you will generally find is that the gantry style lasers are going to have a smaller working surface, and that's probably a physical constraint in as far as this cantilevered arm. And looking across there, xTools, they've really only got the one in that lineup, which is the xTool D1 Pro. Atomstack and COMGROW, they have single entries in this field. Sculpfun, they tend to have a few more, I've noticed, across the board. And CREALITY are pretty new to the market space for lasers. They're well established, obviously, in the 3D printer market, so it's good to see them come into the laser space as well. And they've got a couple of models, another model in the higher wattage range, which we'll have a look later. Ortur, they the gantry style one here, the Orfero, and same with Niji, they've got one of each. And TWOTREES, which is just something that
is now a lot of these manufacturers are going to be Chinese manufacturers that'll have their own sort of websites and things like that. So just bear in mind that you may not necessarily be dealing with a native English-speaking company if you're getting some of these other types of lasers. But that's something to consider, and as far as support and what's available in that field. Jumping into Atomstack. So just I guess a disclaimer here is that the prices quoted are based on the manufacturer's website standard pricing, and they may vary with sales and specials throughout the calendar year. And I like to preface that because I guess a lot of these manufacturers will have what are seemingly inflated manufacturers' recommended retail prices, and they will generally have a pretty heavy discount on some of those models just to entice the buyers, perhaps as part of their marketing, to say that they giving these great discounts. So people tend to sort of look at that and say, well, I'm going to be getting great value. So that's just something that you need to sort of accept is going to happen with a lot of these types of products. The Google sheet that I have put together outlines all of these sale prices as at the 18th of March. So I took all the details down, probably over a couple of days, but as at around about that 18th of March, it has the sale prices included in that spreadsheet. So again, if you want a copy of that, just pop the comment down below and I'll get that link through to you. Now, looking at the work areas of these printers, these laser engravers, I should say, a lot of the open frame style, which is the ones that you're seeing here, that are generally like extruded aluminium rail systems and things like that, they're generally going to be around about that 400 by 400, and that will vary slightly according to manufacturer. And a lot of these gantry style, like we suggested, are going to be a much smaller. So you can see here with the Atomstack that it's only a 200 by 200 millimeter work area. So that's something to consider based on the types of products that you're going to be producing. Dot size is another important consideration, and that will come down to what level of detail that you want to achieve. So for example, if you're doing photo engraving on certain materials, the smaller the dot size, the higher the resolution you're going to be able to produce. So in the case of this Atomstack A5, they're mentioning here 0.23 by 0.23. From my perspective, that's a really quite a large dot size. So I can only report what is on their website. So if they have got errors, please note that that's something that you may need to speak directly with the manufacturers about, just to confirm that information. So all of this information is just directly off the website, manufacturer's website. Maximum speed, 3,000 millimeters per minute, which is fine for this hobby style of market. As far as accessories, Atomstack do have a number of accessories, including your air assist, which is going to be important when it comes to cutting, and that's quite reasonably priced. They do have their own enclosure for mainly for these open frame style, but I guess they may fit the gantry style lasers as well, but that's something you would need to confirm with the manufacturer. Rotary tools, like we mentioned, a lot of them will have a base model, which is like a roller style of rotary tool. Plus, they will have a more expensive chuck style rotary attachment. So that's something to have a look at, and I've included that pricing on the spreadsheet. Extension kit, which will generally double the size of most of these open frame style lasers, taking it up to around about that 400 by 800 millimeter workspace. So that really opens it up, and as far as doing signs and things of that nature that are much larger and won't necessarily fit in that type of workspace. So that's something that, if you want to get into those larger projects, to know that there are extension kits available. Now, those extension kits would normally only be available for the open frame and not necessarily the gantry style of a laser engraver. Sculpfun, okay. So all open frame and starting from $249.99, and that similar sort of workspace for 10 by 420 And this one here at the S30 on the end does include the air assist. So that's something to consider if you're going to be doing some cutting. Well, this one already includes that air assist. If you look at the price of the air assist, it's $79.99, which may be on sale. So you just need to weigh up the costs there as to whether or not it represents good value for you. Now, accessory-wise, Sculpfun do have the full range of accessories, including your air assist, your enclosure, your rotary tools, the extension kits, and the honeycomb cutting beds. Next on the list, we've got the Niji. Again, I can't guarantee that I'm pronouncing that correctly. And they seem to have more of these gantry style laser engravers, which may be suitable for certain types of people. But again, please look at the work area that we're looking at here is 170 by 170 for their cheapest one, the 199, the Niji 3, right through to the Niji 3 Plus, which has an extended range from 255 to 420 millimeters. As far as dot size, they've got some pretty bold claims here of 0.04 by 0.06. That's a very small dot, which would be really good for doing photo engraving and that sort of thing. And for these other models, the 0.08 by 0.08. Now, I've highlighted the maximum speed here as they quote at can move up to 1,000 millimeters per second. Now, while that might be the case, that may be what the motors are rated at to move at that speed. However, I would seriously doubt that you're going to get, with a 5-watt laser, you're probably not going to get much more than 6,000 millimeters per minute, perhaps, maybe a little bit more. To actually achieve an engraving at those speeds. So please bear in mind that this 60,000, I expect, is what they are rating their motors at, how fast their motors can actually move, rather than what the maximum speed of engraving is. Niji do have a full range of accessories as well: air assist enclosure, rotary tool extension kit, and honeycomb cutting bed. TWOTREES, a couple in their lineup. We've got the 2.5 watt version. It's the same model, but they just have a different laser module, and the price reflects that. Work area, dot size exactly the same, maximum speeds all the same. They do have a full range of accessories as well, including your air assist enclosure, rotary tool, extension kit, and honeycomb cutting bed. Ortur, so one gantry style and one of the Ortur LaserMaster 2 Pro, the S2. I may not have included that in my original graphic. Very different work surfaces that you're working with there, 180 by 180 through to the 400 by 400. Again, these prices are simply reflecting their base price. In most cases, they will have these on some sort of a sale to entice the purchaser. Now, I actually have the Ortur, not the LaserMaster 2. I actually have the LaserMaster 3, which is a 10-watt machine, which we'll be looking at later. And I'm reasonably happy with it. The one downside that I have found is this dot size, that it's 0.05 by 0.1. And so that gives the dot actually looks like a grain of rice, and I've noticed some limitations when it comes to photo engraving with that sort of a dot size. So if I was doing a lot of photo engraving, I'd be certainly looking at something that has a much squarer appearance of dot size, purely because that's largely what we're going to be representing when we're creating a image ready for laser engraving. It's going to be a dither pattern, which is just a series of square dots. Ortur do have a full range of accessories as well, as shown below here: the air assist, the enclosure, the rotary tool extension kit, and honeycomb cutting bed. Okay, jumping into the xTool. It's a very well-known product, the xTool D1 Pro here. They have that in multiple wattage versions, 430 by 400, a nice small dot size, 0.06 by 0.06, and a maximum speed of 24,000 millimeters per minute. Now, there is a disclaimer on the website around that maximum speed that you do need to be using. I believe it's you've got to be using a high speed or high processor speed computer to be achieving those sorts of speeds. xTool do have the full range of accessories as well, and they've got a couple of different models of air assist, plus other accessories which I haven't mentioned here. But some of these guys, manufacturers, do have things like your smoke purifiers and that sort of stuff as well as a range of spare parts and laser modules that you can purchase separately and upgrade on that machine. Acer has the P5, which is a 0.06 by 0.06, so a nice small dot size. Quite a fast speed that they're claiming there, 24,800 millimeters per minute, and a decent size work bed at a fairly good price. Now, this, I know that they do sell that much cheaper than what the manufacturer's recommended retail price is shown here. Again, full range of accessories by Acer for air assist, the enclosure, the rotary tool extension kit, and honeycomb cutting bed. COMGROW. So they've got the Z1, and it's a quite a decent price entry-level machine with a decent size workspace, a good size 0.08 by 0.08, which is a nice uniform shape, which would be ideal for photo engraving and the like, and maximum speed 5,000 millimeters per minute. Now, when it comes to COMGROW, I guess what I've seen in the past is that they're probably more well known for their laser modules that can be adapted to different machines like the xTools and the Ortur and those sorts of things. So they don't necessarily have the full range of accessories available at this point in time. So they don't have the enclosure and they don't have the extension kit. But you can definitely get the air assist rotary tool and honeycomb cutting bed. CREALITY, the CR Laser Falcon. This looks pretty nice actually, and a couple of the reviews I've seen, I think they are probably more the higher wattage version of the reviews that I've seen. But looking at this, a really small dot size, a good speed range, and a decent sized workbed. Again, CREALITY, as we know, well known for their 3D printers. So at this stage, I couldn't see any information relevant around the accessories for the rotary tool or the extension kit. But they do have the air assist enclosure and honeycomb cutting bed. FOXALIEN. So this is, I hadn't really heard of these guys before, but I did see that they do have a couple of models that are coming out, and they're sort of hitting the market with this one. Dot size, pretty ordinary. You know, is probably a bit larger than the others in the range for the 5 watt. Good size work area and 20,000 millimeters per minute rated maximum speed. Whether or not you're going to be able to utilize that full 20,000 millimeters per minute is the question with these 5 watt lasers. I think the one that I have, the LaserMaster 3, is rated around about that 20,000 as well, and there wouldn't be too many instances where I would even consider using that speed for engraving. FOXALIEN also a bit limited on their accessory range. So they do have the air assist, rotary tool and cutting bed, but no enclosure or extension kit that I could find. So now we're moving into the 10 watt lasers, and this is probably the most popular category, I guess, because a lot of people don't necessarily want to be limited to just engraving. And when lasers first came out, years ago, they were very low wattage, and pretty much that's all you could do with them was engrave. And unless you had a lot of patience around, doing multiple passes for cutting. But the 10 watt models open it up considerably in that you're able to still use the engraving capabilities, because that doesn't have a huge dot size at this point, and it becomes a versatile cutter for materials in around about that sort of 3 millimeter range. So as an example, I'm cutting 3 millimeter plywood in 2 passes. Same with acrylic. It's generally that sort of 2 passes will get me through 3 millimeter materials, and that's something that you need to sort of think about. But it certainly opens up the creativity around what sort of projects you're able to produce with this. And being that it's a higher wattage, it will cut a little bit quicker as well. So again, Atomstack have a good lineup there with a couple of open frame and a gantry style. xTools with their D1 Pro, the 10 watt. Ortur again with a 10 watt. Niji. They have this Niji 3 Max, which is, we'll cover that. It has a much larger work area, and that might be something worth considering, plus their gantry style. Ortur LaserMaster Pro, the 10 watt. It's the LaserMaster 3 10 watt as well. So that's the machine that I have. TWOTREES have an interesting combination here. So they have the 10 watt plus this fully enclosed model, and we'll cover what's going on with that one. Being fully enclosed, it means it might be something that's well suited to what you want to do. And again, Sculpfun, CREALITY, and FOXALIEN, each having single entries in this field. So looking at the Atomstack pricing, obviously we're increasing the wattage, so there's generally going to be more cost associated with these. So again, starting around that $480 mark through to $600. And Atomstack, they seem to have nailed the dot size pretty well in this category at 0.06 by 0.06. And the speed, they didn't have the speed listed for the S10 Pro on the site, but I would imagine it would be similar to that 11,000 for those other models. Sculpfun, the S10 10 watt plus the S30 Pro, and again the S30 Pro including the Air Assist in that price. So everything else is pretty much the same. The work area is a little bit smaller, and again the same accessories that we covered earlier. Ortur LaserMaster 2 and the LaserMaster 3. Now, and I mentioned this in this range, in the 10 watt range, they do have this 0.05 by 0.1 dot size, which in hindsight, I'd probably consider something in the other ranges that might have something that's a little bit squarer because it presents less issues for me. But again, I haven't tested those other machines, so but I'm really happy with what I'm able to achieve with the Ortur LaserMaster 3 anyway. So and I've still got lots to learn to get the best out of it. But 400 by 400 workspace, which is quite ample, and a good maximum speed like we suggested earlier. Again, whether or not you use that 20,000, I don't think I've gone over 10,000, to be honest with you. So whether there's a need for that for what you're doing, that's something that you need to weigh up. TWOTREES. So again, they've got 3 models in this category, but the one here that I want to talk about is the enclosed model. So the enclosed model does have the cutting bed included in there as well, the honeycomb, from what I've been able to see on the website. Plus it includes the Air Assist, so it's all kind of built into one already for you. But the downfall with having that fully enclosed is that it's a much smaller work area, so that's only 200 by 300. So that would be something that you'd need to weigh up as to whether or not it's suitable for your needs. And they didn't have the maximum speed on this TT2 10 watt. But I would imagine it's going to be around similar to the other models. Niji couple in the lineup like we suggested, and the one of interest, we've covered the gantry style previously with the 255 by 420. Is this Niji 3 Max? So it's already got the extension kit built into the base model of this particular laser. So it already gives you an 810 by 460 millimeter workspace. Now that's quite huge. And I guess space becomes a consideration as to where you can set this up, because in most cases you're going to want to have a nice sort of level sort of bed or waste grid that you might be using to engrave on, and that starts to consume a lot of space. And again, this maximum speed, I would take that with a grain of salt, in that it's probably what their motors are rated at, not necessarily the engraving speed. xTools with their D1 Pro 10 watt, good size, workspace and dot size and speed again, and a disclaimer on that 24,000 to you need to use that with a higher spec computer, essentially, from what I could understand. FOXALIEN, I guess the only thing with the FOXALIEN is the dot size that I'd be a bit concerned about here. 0.2 by 0.15, perfectly fine for cutting. Whether or not it's going to be great for engraving because of the resolution that you're starting to lose at a 0.2 dot size. That's quite a big dot. Now, our final category that we're looking at here is the 20 watt plus lasers. So this is anything from 20 all the way up to 40, massive 40 watts. For a diode laser, that's pretty crazy. And we've got 8, so have a couple in this range here, a 20 watt and a 35 watt. TWOTREES, CREALITY, Atomstack. Atomstack having the 33 watt and the xTool D1 Pro, which is the 20 watt standard, plus they do have the brand new 40 watt model here as well, which is kind of crazy. But I'd love to try one out, see what you can actually do with them. So let's look at the xTools first up. You can see a big jump in the pricing with these, and that's, I'm assuming, is really sort of coming down to the extra laser modules that it's going to be contained within there. Still a decent size dot there, 0.08 by 0.1 and 24,000 like we'd established previously. And in the 40 watt model, yes, the dot size does become a little bit bigger, as you would expect, because I believe it's combining 4 laser dot modules there to combine into one. So it would be very hard to focus that down to a smaller dot size, but a very powerful and I'm assuming pretty capable machine. And Atomstack have a couple of entries here, the 20 watt and the 33 watt. A 33 watt at that size, dot size, is it possible? I don't really know. I don't know enough about them, but based on every other manufacturer in that sort of range, that's a pretty bold claim to say they've got a 0.06 by 0.06. It could well be true. If you know someone that does have the Atomstack X30 Pro 33 watt model, I'd be keen to know if that's what they're actually achieving. Now, it also does include the Air Assist, as does the X20 Pro, so they both include the Air Assist with that one. And good size dot size on this one as well, 0.08 by 0.1. But this is where, if you start adding the additional, rotary tool, the extension kit, and the honeycomb enclosure and all that sort of stuff, it does start to add up. Sculpfun have the S30 Pro Max 20 watt with the Air Assist included on that one, and another bold claim of a 0.06 by 0.06 dot size, slightly smaller bed. TWOTREES also have a 20 watt model, and yeah, it seems to stack up. $1,099, 400 by 400, 0.08 by 0.08, and 10,000 millimeters per minute. I'd be keen to have a look at that one. It seems to represent pretty good value based on what I've seen. But again, it's fairly new to the market, I guess. I haven't seen a lot on the TWOTREES, but I have seen a couple of reviews, and they seem to stack up pretty well.
Alrighty, I know that's a lot of information in there, and I probably rushed through it a little bit, but I didn't want to sort of bore you with too much detail, and still give you the information that you might need as a base, and think, oh, that one piques my interest, and then just go to the spreadsheet, and you'll be able to go to the link for the manufacturer's website on that one. But if you want a copy of that spreadsheet, just pop your comment down below, and I'll happily send out the link. And like I mentioned, if you're getting value out of this, think about subscribing. I've never asked people to subscribe before, so if there's value in it for you, then that's the only reason I would ask. And give us a thumbs up, and we look forward to catching you in the next one. So until then, be creative and stay grateful. Bye for now.